You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Dear friends. Hi, I'm dear friend Emily.
I'm dear friend Christy.
And I'm dearest friend Jess. And welcome to Dear Friend, a write-in advice podcast for the musical-minded. How are you guys doing today?
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yes, happy 2022.
2022, yes.
It's a whole week into it, and we haven't completely fucked it up yet, so.
Yeah.
It's time for everything.
It's exactly, right? Like, last year at this time, we had an insurrection, so as long as we don't have, like, full-on chaos.
Now we just have a plague, so.
Just the
we
plague.
had a plague last week.
Yeah,
last time.
but when it's only the plague to deal with, it's just like a little bit more manageable.
Well, as they say on the internet, it's a new year, new me, and that goes for the Dear Friend podcast too. And we're changing things up because, you know what, we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to be different, and from now on, we're basically going to have one write-in question per episode, so it doesn't make it any less special, but it makes it more special. So this week, we have from Alexandria in Walla Walla, Washington, who writes in asking, Dear friends, with the new production of The Music Man hitting Broadway and people having a lot to say about it, is there a place for Golden Age musical revivals on Broadway nowadays, and where do they fit in our modern discourse?
Of course
Well,
there
that's
is.
a
The
great
good
question.
shows. The good
Of course,
shows
I
are
mean, come
always
on.
going to be
We're
good.
We're not too far removed from the Oklahoma that fucks, so.
Yeah, if we can still do, like, feasibly, like, plays by the ancient Greeks, then of course we can find a place for,
And Shakespeare and Ibsen and.
Of course, the good stuff stays good. And, the Oklahoma revival was a really, I think it's going to be kind of like a catalyst or a linchpin for people to stop treating these Golden Age shows as so precious. I mean, they are precious, but like taking what's good about them and then trying something new with them.
Yeah.
Again, like we do with Shakespeare all the time.
Yeah, and I think, part of that is, we have to recognize that the Golden Age musicals especially were the popular entertainment at the time. So it was designed to fit to the popular tastes and, perspectives of the time. And yeah, a lot of those perspectives have changed quite a lot. So
yeah, and there's some Golden Age musicals that I think lend themselves to being played with and adapted, and then there's some shows, like I would argue, like The Music Man, which is like almost kind of perfect as is. I don't really know. You could do subtle stuff, but to me, like completely changing stuff about it, like they're kind of doing with this for seemingly no rhyme or reason, except we've got celebrities and we're going to cater to the celebrities.
Right.
That's not a good enough reason.
There's a lot I want to talk about with this, and I think because they framed it in the comparison of the Music Man revival, how about we start there? What is going on with this new Music Man revival? It's been nothing but a myriad of controversies and issues from day one. And the more you hear about it, the less interested most of us feel in it.
Well, let's start with Scott Rudin.
Yep.
I mean, that's a big problem, is that he's, one of the driving producing forces behind this, and he has issues. If you've been following theater at all in the past couple of years, you know very well that this is a pretty toxic guy. And so there is that baggage, and, the added baggage that I think, Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster, had the chance to, kind of speak out or say something on this, and they didn't, because, they've got this revival that they're doing. So there's that going on, and yeah.
I feel like there are two camps because... And they're not pleasing anybody. Like, there's the people who don't like The Music Man, and there are just people who don't like The Music Man, and there are people who think it represents, like, a old style of musical theater, and that's neither here nor there. But there are people who already, like, I don't want to see this show. And then there's people like me who, like, love The Music Man, and every choice they make that I've seen, I haven't seen the show yet.
Right.
But every choice they keep putting out there, like, look at this, and they're promoting on their socials, like, can you believe this? Every time I see it, I go,
why?
Why?
Yeah.
Why were these choices made?
Right.
I just did like a huge rant on TikTok about this, but the thing that kind of drives me the most crazy is that apparently they're lowering all the keys for Sutton and throwing in tap numbers for her. And to me, it's like, there are soprano celebrity
Why don't we
musical
have
theater
Audra
people out
McDonald?
there.
Why don't we have Audra McDonald as Marion?
Or
Come
Laura
on.
Benanti.
or
a lot of other
Kelly
choices.
O'Hara, or there's so many.
Jesse Mueller, she just did it
Yes.
with Norm Lewis a few years ago.
Thank you.
I'm like, why can't we just have a soprano do it? And why in God's name is button up mousy Marion the librarian tap dancing and like marching with the band at the end, like she's part of the band? I'm like, why are we just completely changing the character? Oh, because Sutton.
Yeah, and well, that's part of her arc, is that she kind of comes out of her shell, like, you know, when she dances with Hill in Shapoopy, that's kind of like a
That's a
turning
big
point
moment,
for her.
yeah.
That is a big moment, but yeah, that's not her character. She's not a song and dance character. She's very much that,
She
you
needs
know,
to go on
classic-
an arc in the show. She has to be
Right.
a foil to Harold Hill. Harold is the
Exactly.
zippy fast power. Do. He needs that element that she provides, just like he does the same. That's why their big
Right.
songs, 76 Trombones and Goodnight My Someone, are the same song in different time signatures. Like,
Right.
they're meant to be like two sides of the same coin. Like, they need each
Uh-huh.
other. And then
And
it's
that
like,
great-
why am I just watching? Couldn't Sutton just play Harold Hill? Because that seems more right to me. That seems more right to me.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that they've changed for no reason, Hugh Jackman, once again, they slowed down Trouble, as our good friend Tommy from Musical MASH pointed out, from 120 beats per minute to around 110 beats per minute.
Yeah.
What the hell is that BS?
Yeah, I don't know. And it's like, I would have thought Hugh Jackman could do it a tempo. I don't know what the heck they're doing there.
The Greatest Showman was his Music Man audition. I remember
Obviously,
seeing that
yes.
movie and going, he's auditioning for Harold Hill right now. He wants to play Harold Hill so effing bad.
Yes.
And at the time, I remember being like, not a bad choice. Not a bad choice at all.
exactly.
I could see it. He obviously has the Broadway cred, so he's one of those movie stars when he does a musical, you're kind of like, well, I'll allow it. You started your career doing this.
Right.
It makes sense. But, like, you got Trouble. I do it faster. I've done it faster with high schoolers and middle schoolers. Why is it, and why are they doing little choreography?
And it's not even fun choreography. It's the choreography that everybody does with the gospel hands. It's like,
Right.
okay, I think that's what bothers me, is that, you know, you're doing this, you're reviving this classic show, and it's like, okay, you know, I've seen this before.
And you know what? Here's another thing now that I think about it. In The Music Man, the first people who start like dancing, it's like Footloose, right? It's the teens. The teens are the ones who are the
Right.
first ones who start doing it. The kids start marching with Harold Hill, then they're in the auditorium and they start kind of dancing and getting excited. He's the one who leads them into dancing. And then you have Marion the Librarian, where all the teens are, it grows gradually through the show.
Right.
The first time you meet the Iowans or the River Citysians, they are
Yes.
like standing stock still singing, "Oh, there's nothing halfway."
Yeah,
Why
you
would they
actually
all
have
of a sudden be doing choreography in like the third number in the show when we've
Right.
established these people don't like dancing, and Harold Hill uses dog whistle code words like ragtime to freak them out? Why would they be
Yeah.
dancing? It's
I
just
think-
a
yeah.
directorial choice that I don't like. I don't like it.
Yeah. And I think, you know, that's another angle that they're not examining as much, is that how, you know, this kind of hidebound, provincial, group of people are gradually broken out of that mindset. Because, you in the first act, you have like the old biddies who are like, oh, Marion, she was in this relationship with Miser Madison, and she reads dirty books. And then like in the second half, they're like, we read all the books and they're fantastic.
There's like an arc.
Yes.
And it's reflected in the music and in the choreography. And like to me, it's everything I hate about people who just kind of go, it's an old musical, just do whatever you want. It's like Meredith Willson did not write the book, music, and score and go in depth and make everything completely motivated for you to just throw this shit in because there's old people in the audience who are like, I remember the Shapoopy. Like,
Yes.
there's a context for everything, like in these shows, and it drives me crazy. And I just don't like any of the choices they've thrown out there yet. Hugh Jackman should be able to handle a faster You Got Trouble.
Exactly. I mean, what the heck is going on?
I don't know. What do you think, Jess?
I
Take another sip of wine.
I want to transition into things that I'm sure you guys don't know about, but I want your opinion on.
Ooh,
Okay.
Ooh.
Listening.
Are we aware of the changes made to the book and lyrics in this new revival?
I've heard something along the lines, but please refresh my memory.
What did they do?
Okay. First of all, they altered the lyrics to Shapoopy, basically rewrote the entire song with the
I
lyrics
heard
by
this.
Mark
That's
Shaman.
stupid.
That's dumb.
Do you guys want to hear what some of the lyrics sound like?
Oh, just for the sake of the audience, please.
All right. So the original lyrics were
The woman who kisses on a very
Emily
first date is usually a hussy, and the woman
who'll kiss on the second time out is anything but fussy. Yeah,
but
it's
the woman
girls-
who kisses on the third time around, head in the clouds,
Head in the clouds, feet on the ground,
she's the girl. Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
it's dumb, but like
Yeah, it's
All right,
about a girl.
are we
It's about
ready?
a girl
It's
playing
so-
hard to
it's
get
so
and not
frothy.
putting out on the
It's so-
first date.
okay, so give me
Yeah.
the new ones.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
All right. Here's the new intro. Well, a fellow who goes on his very first date is usually shy and fretful, and a fellow who tries for more than a kiss would end up something dreadful. And then it keeps going on for the next one. For that, are you ready for the chorus?
Yeah.
Shapoopy, shapoopy, shapoopy. The boy who tries his best. Shapoopy, shapoopy, shapoopy. The pass the ladies test. The boy
Okay.
who's seen the light, to treat a woman right, the girl you can't forget, but you can win her yet. Those are the new...
Wait, so a shapoopy is a boy now?
Yep!
A
Apparently,
shapoopy is like a fine gentleman caller?
Yep. A gentleman that asked consent.
Apparently, we needed to take this fun song about
I
flirting
can't.
and courtship
can't.
and just
I
silly,
can't.
the silly, irreverent opening act number and make it relevant.
Like, do we not realize that Meredith Willson was writing this show in the 50s about a time that was nostalgic in the 50s?
Right.
It's like, it's supposed to be stupid.
It sounds
All
like
right.
It sounds like a silly song that they would sing in the 1910s.
Also, why
mean-
bother? Like, why bother? It's not described, it's, why even bother? It's the shapoopy. Oh,
Yes,
I hate that.
exactly.
Oh, I hate
it has
that.
exactly. I said this when I was reviewing the Matthew Broderick remake, which
Did
has
they
its own
change
set of
lyrics? I
problems.
haven't seen
They
that one
didn't
in a
change
really
the
long
lyrics,
time.
but it has exactly one job, and it's to be a fun song and dance number.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, we got more, guys. Don't
Okay.
think that's it.
Mm.
So, they changed the Sadder But Wiser Girls lyrics
Oh my God.
significantly, apparently.
That's
my God.
the best song.
That's
Yep. And they made it a full dance number. So they changed the lyrics so they can make it a proper dance number between Marcellus and Harold Hill.
okay.
Sadder But Wiser Girl actually has a great message. I
Yep.
mean, it's wrapped up in like this language, but he's saying, I don't care if he's like, I want a girl with experience.
Yeah, and
It's a great song.
Yeah, and the whole point is that, Harold Hill is at this point where, he thinks this is what he wants, but then he realizes what he wants is Marion. So it's not like Meredith Willson was writing this and saying, "Yep, relationship goals." He knew what he was doing.
Harold Hill has an arc. They have an arc. He goes from singing that to singing Till There Was You. So okay, wait. So what is he saying in Sadder But Wiser? So like, what are the
I
lyrics?
do not have any. I think they might have had a little bit of the lyrics from. Have you guys ever heard the Seth MacFarlane cover?
No.
They add another verse into it. It's all right. It's an addition rather than a change, if that makes sense. And I think that might just be what they do, just to give more dancing breaks into it, and to kind of recontextualize it.
I don't mind. I think they kind of do. Wait, I'm trying to think of the movie. They don't do a dance break. They do that little shuffle off.
There's
the
like a
buffalo.
little
Yeah,
bit
they
where
go like,
Marcellus, Marcellus kind of like does, this silly, flirty girl walk. There's like a little 16 bars, not even 16 bars. It's like 8 bars or something where they do something.
They shuffle off the buffalo at the
Yeah.
end or something. But I don't even really mind an extended dance break in it. It's more the idea of changing the lyrics because those are really good lyrics, man. They're so clever and
Yeah.
god damn. That bums
All right,
me out.
For
Sutton also
no Diana do I play Fawn. I love that line.
For Hester to
good.
win just one more A. Come on.
Exactly, thank you.
So Sutton sings the altered version of My White Knight, kind of similar to the one that Barbara Cook sang at Carnegie Hall, which was a little faster.
Okay.
Which isn't bad. It's just a thing.
Are
we ready to talk about the Wonton Yee girls?
Okay, now this is interesting.
That's right.
Yeah, this is interesting because, again, this is one of those things where obviously it was something they would do in the 1910s, but it's really hard to portray it now without people going, yikes.
Plus, it's like 2 references. You can cut it and be fine.
Right, yeah. I think something similar happened in the recent revival of Edwin Drood when they had Jesse Mueller and someone else playing the British Indian characters. I'm like, well, yeah, in the early 20th century music hall, they would have white people in brownface, but, without that context and without explaining, we shouldn't be doing this, people are just going to go, yikes.
Yeah, you have to walk that line. Anyway, so what'd they do, Jess?
Anyway.
I actually kind of like this. Instead, they are now dressed as Revolutionary War soldiers. And they think that the explosion is initially like a false gunshot.
That makes sense.
It's
that makes sense.
That makes sense,
change.
and that
it's
works.
The 4th of July.
It's the 4th of July. Everybody's like patriotic and crap. So
and better than Civil War soldiers.
Yes,
or something.
it's that whole Americana thing with the idolization of the Revolution and the Founding Fathers that really fits in with the whole mood of the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the final thing, and this is just a me thing, they cut the overture except for like a minute of 76 trombones. No whistle at the beginning, just they play 76 trombones, then Rock Island. That's just...
I'm sorry.
But that's a perfect musical to have an overture. It has a great overture.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean,
it's a show about a marching band. Why not show off your pit?
Yeah.
But this drives the question that we're asking here. Golden Age musicals, it's either you don't change enough and then it doesn't work to modern audiences, or you change too much where the originalists like us are like, what? No, come on, that's great.
Yeah, I think it depends on the show. I think, like, for example, a show like Gypsy keeps getting revived every, 10 years or so, and you really don't need to change... There's been nothing really different about any of those Broadway revivals.
Just change the title. That's the only thing I want to change about that musical.
I think that's something that I
call it Mama Rose. Who cares?
I know. I think it's probably a situation where everyone who wrote it is dead, so probably estates are going to have a little conversation.
Yeah, and part of it is yes, Rose. Louise used that word in her stage name, so
it's a slur even in the context of the musical.
We're going to have to address that, but Yeah, it makes it really awkward. It's like, and it's not exactly something we can drop from the canon. It is literally one of the greatest musicals of all time with, one of the best mature female roles ever. So,
yeah,
agreed.
Playing, and then, the fact that it was written by, Gypsy Rose Lee, it's tough. It's very tough. It's, I'm not saying there's an easy answer, and I think it's good that we're at this place right now where we can start having that conversation about that, because even a couple of years ago, this wasn't even a thing. But that aside, that's a word change that you can change.
Yeah.
Other than that, the show itself, you could just keep doing it the same, and people kind of keep doing it the same, and we love it if you have a good Mama Rose.
There's a timelessness to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
On the other hand,
I'd have to think about it. I guess The Sound of Music is one. Sound of Music could probably do forever.
That's
you don't need to.
It's kids running away from Nazis. How can you not cheer from that?
Yeah.
The problem with the Sound of Music show is that the movie is significantly better structurally. That's the feeling I feel anytime I show anyone the Sound of Music stage show as opposed to them who are used to the movie. They're like, the movie just kind of works better.
Yeah,
and it's one of those
West Side
ones.
Story, the film of West Side Story, the 61 adaptation, and obviously the new one, are arguably better in my opinion better structured than the stage version. But with the Sound of Music, again, you could still see it on stage and pretty much as is, and it's except other than a few song movements and the beefing up of the Baroness and Max and No Way to Stop It, it's pretty much the same. some new added songs. Actually, I think sometimes don't they add the movie songs into the stage versions?
Yeah, something
Sometimes
good
they
is
do,
basically
yeah.
in there.
Yeah. But
The Lonely Goatherd being in the place of favorite things, and favorite things being with the
Mother
mother.
Abbess.
I don't like
Yeah.
those. Those are big ones I really just
Yeah.
don't like.
I'm sure there's more if I could.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a question to be posed. What Golden Age musical do you think could hit with a Broadway audience? And we're talking about that just because that's the network we're on. I know that they fit much better in community theaters. But which one do you think we could bring to Broadway and it be a success? And what changes would need to be done to those shows?
It's a good question.
I think I would like to see an Oklahoma-style subversion of Carousel.
Yes.
Because
Yes,
Carousel
that's what I was...
is what it's there are some major problems that could be easily fixed with some cuts, and maybe taking a Oklahoma style minimalist style, or just really thinking out of the box with the production, because that score is my favorate Rodgers and Hammerstein score.
It's fantastic, but eventually you get to the point in the book where the heroine says, if someone who loves you hits you, it doesn't hurt, and it's like, okay, we have to deal with this.
Yeah, and so that how do you deal with it? Because even the latest revival kind of just like.
They just cut that line, and that was their only change.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Billy Bigelow isn't supposed to be a good guy, so, like, how much darker can we go with it? Like, the 90s revival I remember seeing, and I remember that, I was, like, in high school, I think, and it blew my mind, the Audra No, I was younger than high school, because it was, like, 93 or something. But that one, I remember being, like, blown away by how dark it was. But I think that was because it was the first time I had really seen it on stage. Because even the old movie version, where are they?
Not
as dark. And that's just Hollywood at the time.
Yeah,
like, that's just
I gotta say right now, the ending of Carousel has never completely sat right with me. I mean, Billy, goes back to Earth. He sees his daughter. He keeps screwing up the way he screwed up all during his life. And, then he, like, whispers a few nice words in her ear at graduation, and suddenly everything's cool. I'm like, okay. I don't feel like that's an earned ending.
I've got a pitch for you guys. All right. So here's my pitch for revising the ending of Carousel. There's a lot to do at the beginning to fix, but here's my pitch. So he does the same thing. He messes up with his daughter again, and the Star Maker's like, well, I guess it's time to go to hell. He runs away to his daughter, and in just a chance to just try to make amends with her, he says the thing, and then he goes to hell, but he gets to see his daughter go off to a bigger and better world, and that's okay enough with him. I think just the fact that he goes to heaven is really what bothers most people. So if we make it very clear he's going to hell, but he's...
Even if, the idea is, he hasn't earned heaven yet, but he's made a start. I think I could live with that.
Yeah, I'd like to see, I'd like to see that stuff cut. As I want them to do what they did with Oklahoma, which is lean into the ambiguity of it all a little bit more, so that every audience member can interpret it the same way. I actually don't want a definition of what this afterlife is. I think it would be cool to make everyone in the afterlife a little more ethereal and ambiguous, and what happens it's not so much about him going to heaven at the end as it is maybe about her feeling a little bit better, feeling
having
like she can move, having closure or something. As someone, my dad wasn't Billy Bigelow levels of shitty, but I had a very I have a very complicated relationship with my dad, and he's dead. And there are times where I wish I could have told him off. And then there's times in my life where I'm like, oh, I wish he was here. I think when it comes to relationships like that, being like, you're the bad guy, it's like how everyone's doing this with Abuela and Encanto right now, and it drives me freaking crazy. It's like, no, like, this is like, we're humans. I think what makes it more fascinating is the human ambiguity. It's not like her being like, I miss my shitty dad, I wish he was here. It becomes more about her for whether she doesn't know he's there talking in her ear. It's her being at her graduation and maybe feeling a little bit better. And the powerful moment for me comes from when, like, she, like, I don't know, like, she grabs a classmate's hand. Like, that stuff is the stuff that sticks with me rather than Billy walking up in the clouds. So I think that would be interesting to push that much out, and pushing into, like, why is this girl, like, there's reasons why this girl is so messed up right now. That's like the interesting stuff to me. And I don't think we need to change the fact that Billy's a shitty person, or that Julie was kind of in an abusive relationship. I think that's
she
stuff
was
that
in
can
an
be
abusive relationship.
played
Let's call a
up.
spade a spade.
And I think that those would be really interesting to explore if just the tone is different. You know, like in the Oklahoma revival, they didn't change a single word of that like courtroom in the living room scene. All they did was change the direction, and it completely changed the tone of the moment. It went from like, come on, you guys, it was an accident. Come on, we got to do this. They just got married. To them all being like, you saw it. He fell on his own knife. I mean, it happened. Like, come on, we got to do. It became this thing where the whole town is conspiring about it. Didn't change a word. And I think that's where you could go with it because it's such a good book. A lot of those lines you can take a different way by direction.
I think you could, for example, you could play "What's the Use of Wonderin'" very dark.
Yup.
Because that's a song that says this guy sucks,
song.
but you're stuck with him.
It's sad.
It's very
becomes
sad.
about a domestic abuse cycle, and all you have to do is just go in the direction and maybe do something in how you orchestrate it. I think that would be really fascinating. I don't know if every change would work, just like with the Oklahoma revival, but I would like to see someone make the attempt.
Cut the Clambake song. All right, you guys.
The vittles we eat. But don't cut June is busting out all over.
Oh no!
June is busting all over.
we gotta have the animals having sex.
I love June. Joan.
I think this is a wonderful discussion where we talked about a lot of things. And I don't ever want to lose the DNA of what Dear Friends is, so I want us all to recommend one of our favorite Golden Age musical songs to wrap this all up.
Ooh, good.
All right, I can go first because this has always been my favorite, and it's the one I come back to. I'm going to actually recommend two because I see them as a hand-in-hand. The Carousel Waltz is like the best overture of all time.
Oh my
so
goodness.
And literally I can turn that on and listen to the whole thing and it just makes my day better.
Yeah.
Anytime If I Love You is performed, not like the truncated, like, just the melody. I need the whole 10-minute
scene.
sequence.
Yeah.
If you're not doing the full 10-minute scene, what's the point of putting on this show?
Right. So good.
So those are my two. If I Loved You, the full scene, and the Carousel Waltz, because Carousel is simultaneously the best and worst Golden Age musical. All right, Christy, what about you?
Okay, I am going to go with Lonely Room from Oklahoma. It is one of the greatest villain songs of all time, and I think it taps into that ambiguity and complexity that we've been talking about. Because, Judd is not a nice person. He stalks and sexually assaults Lori. At the same time, he's getting a lot of shit, on the receiving end of a lot of shit, and that's messed him up. And I think this really taps into, what motivates him, and it really fleshes the character out.
All right. I love Lonely Room. It's so good.
All
right, Emily, top us off.
Let's see. Well, I'm going to go with, since we started with The Music Man, I'm going to go with a little You Got Trouble. But I'm going to recommend you listen to Robert Preston, and Robert Preston only. Maybe Mandy Patinkin, because I saw Mandy Patinkin do this, and of course it was amazing.
I can see him rocking
he's
that.
a crazy person,
Yes,
so.
but caveat to mine, do not listen to Mandy Patinkin and Patti LuPone's If I Loved You, which is bad.
No. My friend used to call that show they did together. Remember they were doing concerts together? He used to call it the Battle for Downstage Center. I can't think of the two of them working together without calling it the Battle for Downstage Center. I love them.
Fair. You know what? On that note, anything else we have left to say? You guys want to promote your wonderful work? Christy, Emily?
I'm at Musical Hell on YouTube, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook. I've got a Patreon and a Redbubble with merch, so check me out.
Yeah.
Emily?
You can find me at Stealing Focus on YouTube, musical theater history stuff. And I'm Emily A.B. Clark. It looks like Emily A.B.C. Lark on all the socials you can find.
And I host a show called Musicals with Cheese on top of this. It's also on this network. You can find it. All right. We'll see you guys next time on Dear Friends.
Bye!
Bye!
Dear friends, spill your woes to your musical family. Dear friends, they will take your questions and turn them into nuggets of wisdom and anecdotes in an otherwise cynical world. Dear friends,